So we don't want to get the air hammer and chisel on that yet, because our next thing to do is to go ahead and cut out the area that we need to get to, all right? So I'm going to go ahead and cut right after this spot weld here, go straight down here. There's a little spot right here where it kind of is flat and then it kind of pulls back in. And I don't want to have to overcome that, okay, on that area right there. So, and then try to rebuild that. So it's going to be easier for me just to kind of basically cut in this area down to about here, over and up. And I'm going to draw that out, and we'll see what that looks like. So as you can see here, this is our area that we're going to be cutting. Used a straight edge to mark from here to here, here to here, and then of course a straight edge across here. And I didn't want to go too much further than that because I didn't want to have to worry about all the extra compound curves and such. And I definitely didn't want to try to weld up into this area here and try to grind all that mess out. So I wanted to keep this as simple as possible. There's a slight bend or a slight curve right here. So a simple piece of metal bent ever so slightly should be able to patch into that very nicely. So I'll go ahead and give this thing a cut down to here, over and across, and then grab my air chisel and then pop those welds out and see what it looks like behind there. So here we have a better sense of what that rusted area looks like. And as you can see here, it looked like it was from the factory where they kind of added a extra weld. Remember that weld I was saying, hey, that looks weird? That was actually some welded material. And then of course got a little crazy with my chisel work here, which, you know, honestly, you know, it's hard to avoid when the metal is as thin as it was from all that rust. And that could easily be changed out with some new metal, new material there, right? And as I got going into this, I was like, all right, let's go ahead. And it looks like it's a little extra thin, but not too bad underneath here, which is really, really positive. So there's some really good, good chance here that it just needs some minor work on the other side. And I don't want to build it from this side and leave this other side neglected. I'm going to go ahead and cut out this area here in the green. Again, this could easily be fixed, and this can be taken care of with the shrinker stretcher, no big deal there, right? And it'll also give me a chance to make sure that all the metal underneath this area is good and awesome. So I'm going to take care of that off camera and let you see what it looks like afterwards. Well, as the saying goes, be careful what you ask for. As you can see, we had our spot cut out there, but as time moved forward, well, some more discoveries were made. Alrighty, over here we had this portion cut out right here, and that turned out pretty easy. And as I got deeper in and I got that part removed, I was like, uh-oh. And that was when I saw that right there. So I was like, well, let's see how far back that goes, right? So I was examining the metal closely, and I found that had gone all the way to about here. All right, so from about here forward, and I did that by looking at the metal. I know our metal's kind of crusty here, but I was basically looking for spots where it was really warped and where you could see kind of outside of that paint, that sealer that had been put on there, right? We didn't do a good job with that sealer, by the way, but that's fine. We'll fix that in the next go around. I've learned since then. But yeah, I found all the way to about this area here. So I went ahead and removed that. And then I was like, well, let's see how far forward it goes. So I decided to go ahead and remove this panel and look closely at it. And sure enough, yeah, we got some patchwork to do. Now, normally I don't like patchwork. because I've seen too many people just put a little piece here, a little piece there, a little piece there, weld it together, make it smooth, and there we go. But in this case, I think this justifies some patchwork because one, I don't want to go ahead and condemn the whole rocker panel when it seems to be pretty good. Some questionable areas back there notwithstanding, right? So I don't want to condemn the whole panel. Inside, the panel looks good, a little crusty there, but it's not really too bad, okay, in that spot right down there. And that's something that could easily be taken care of by some Osvo and some, we'll use more of that internal frame coating. But we have some work to do here. And then if you look closely, okay, if you're to draw an imaginary line from where this rocker seam goes, okay, from this area here, you can kind of see that if you go straight, there's still some crust and some rust and some, you know, it's perforated. You can see holes there, right, that we're going to have to deal with. So with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and cut out here and up top here, and then we're going to see how we can cut this spot out here. I don't want to cut more away, but I'm obviously going to have to possibly make a patch in this area as well as I cut metal out so I get my tools in that section. But we're going to do our best that when we put everything back together, it looks as good as new. So I'm going to do some things off camera, and I'll show you how things are going with various little updates. Here is where things currently stand. As you can see, the insides are really, really awesome. Went ahead and knocked off some rust, and I'm fixing to throw some Osvo up in there, right? I brushed this area off here, and everything is looking pretty decent. And of course, over here, I got this area cut out over here so I can refab some pieces and what have you. Wasn't able to salvage a lot of this because some of the thinness of the metal behind it created a real problem using that air hammer. So I'll have to do some additional fabrication and such. No big deal, just a couple of little pieces of patch here and there. Again, I don't like patching, but for this case, I think for this little spot, it was worth it, because if I didn't patch, that would require me replacing this panel here, which quite frankly, unless I was rebuilding the firewall, is really, really difficult, okay? And this piece right over here, all right? So I just didn't want to mess with it, so it's gonna be easier to patch in this case. All righty, so I did leave this area here because I didn't want to pull out that little panel right here on the side. This acts as a basically a splash shield so that things don't get into the inside between the floor pan and the outside of the body there. And I didn't want to remove that because it was in a tough place to get to with the spot weld. You can see the spot weld here and there were some spot welds up there. But as you can see, I didn't want to cut too much out here. So it left a lot of problems for me as far as trying to get this area cut out. So I thought it was best to go ahead and cut out here and here. And based off of the metal underneath there, I don't know if you can see it really well, but I should be okay with that. So I will be cutting my pieces out so that they can square up here. I can get this in, get this area taken care of, and what have you. Now here is what came out of the vehicle itself. And I'll put it together like this here so you can kind of see it. About a couple inches back here. But yeah, that's what came out of this area right here. And so that wasn't going to do, that wasn't going to hold up. So we definitely need to make some new metal here. And of course, as I talked about in the last segment, I have two areas I got to take care of. So what I'm going to do is first fab up this piece here, okay? Really easy, simple, using the brake to do this, okay? I'm just going to measure out a flat piece here, brake out, use the brake, and then to about here, it stays about the same, and then it starts going forward or going inwards here, okay? So I had the same measurement from here to here, all the way up to about here to here, and after that, it starts going inward, getting shorter and shorter and shorter until it gets up here. So I'm gonna go make those pieces up and then get that taken care of, spray this other area with Osvo, and run some basic rust treatment, some zinc, and some welding primer. And of course, when we get done with the front section, getting that put in, we'll be able to spray down the inside with the Eastwood internal frame coating.